You might be at a point where you're misinterpreting whatever's going on in your business. Your mindset goes down, but your sales are still up here. And so before your sales fall, you misinterpret the stage because you think, well, things are going well, but they're not going well enough anymore. And then eventually your revenue goes down as well, but only because your sales dropped off first. But you're misreading the stages. So you think, well, things are going quite well because delivery is good, customers are happy, but you're not making new sales. So those are things to look at the specific facts, and then only arrive at your conclusions with the actual facts.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Sebastian Family Podcast. We're here again, guys, with another powerful and very, very special episode. I have the one and only Sebastian, who's been a chief marketing officer, been a general manager, commercial strategist, a founder and operator. He's had 2 exits, brand positioning and growth. He has been a visionary, being able to be within his passion of what he loves and helping businesses grow. We do see Sebastian in the light of being such a powerful person who's known the metrics and understanding of marketing, but throughout all of business, Sebastian has been someone from an athlete, all the way up until an entrepreneur, someone who's won, and being a chief marketing officer, his experience also being a basketball coach of over 10 years with multi-county and state championship. Guys, that plays an important role because that is a whole contributing factor into who Sebastian is, where founder-led businesses lose their revenue that they have already earned and how to get it back. And Sebastian take us through that. So Sebastian, thank you so much for coming on the show to, the experience that you have, the companies that you've worked with all over the world. It's going to be a pleasure to hear from you and a lot of the problems that companies are facing today. So let's get into it.
Marketing is all about storytelling. Dad, when we first started this business, what did you say to me?
I said, yes, we do a podcast.
Why?
Because I want to tell our story.
Why?
Because I know the story builds a legacy.
Builds a legacy. And that is exactly what we do here at ETS Sebastian Media. We market your story on social media so you could build a legacy for those who come after you, to build your business and your personal brand.
Yeah, follow us on our platform. Go on our website, etssebastianmedia.com.
This is about legacy, and it is about showing up on social media every single day, because if you don't show up, your competition will.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again. Also been a medalist swimmer in my youth as well. But thank you. Great introduction. So I believe I should just jump into the presentation because I think that makes most sense. One thing that I need to preface with this is, with those 25 years in leadership and marketing, I've been working with so many companies that were essentially just hiring me to do just marketing, just drive them more leads, build a brand, build a positioning. And then my main slogan is essentially monetization, branding, narrative, and positioning. So that's what I usually do. When I work with these companies, I saw that there's often a little bit more going on that is an actual issue for them. So if a company like SAP has me on board, so one of the biggest software companies, they are large. They have all of their departments. Everything is streamlined. They also have their problems, obviously, but everything is streamlined. And I realized that they have certain advantages that smaller companies don't have, especially founder-led and founder-carried companies. So afterwards, when I worked with smaller companies, and small does not mean their revenue is small. So I've been working with companies that had 2 million in revenue per year, annual recurring revenue, but they still had problems to grow, and they just didn't know how to attack this. So I realized I need a new framework to work with these guys, with these companies. And this framework, Commercial Engine, works for essentially any company, also SAP or Microsoft in a certain way. But let me dive in deep so that you can understand what this is. In the end, I also have 2 case studies where I explain this a little bit better on how this works and why I see these problems. So the framework, obviously, what we have now is the framework, then the proof, and then a little bit for you as a founder, entrepreneur yourself, that you can take away from this. Jira, whenever you have a question, please let me know. We'll just do this as you are the single audience in this case, standing in for the other listeners.
Perfect.
So the biggest problem is that oftentimes the founders, they build something amazing. So I've been working with founders who have built their own software. Others have built their own yoga studio. Others have built their own drones. I'm advising startups as well in their investor outreach. So I have my own tool, Deck Metric, which also stands in for the framework as well. So instead of just buying one thing on Deck Metric, you can get the page stack analysis, you can get the full premium version, you can also talk to me, but you can also download certain guides. And that's exactly what I see with other founders. They build one thing and they are amazing. So on the technical things, they are IT guys, they are engineers oftentimes, but they don't know how to sell their product. So they build one thing, and that's usually what it is. So they believe they need to get more leads in, or what they see is they create the value, customers stay, the product works, the service delivers. Either they don't have customers coming in, or the ones that are there are satisfied, but it's not enough. Something is not clicking especially in terms of revenue. And usually what you need in any business, otherwise it's a hobby, you need to make money. And you need to make enough money to sustain the business. So from value created to revenue captured, you oftentimes have a leak in between. And the leak is oftentimes related to the 4 Ps. So in marketing, we have the 4 Ps, so pricing, product, promotion, and place. So place is distribution, but it's better with the 4 Ps. You also have packaging. You also have qualification of customers, which is more of a sales thing. You also have handoffs inside of the team, and you also have founders' calendar. And I see this oftentimes that the founder is one of the biggest issues in this case, especially in smaller companies. And small, again, does not mean revenue. Small is in terms of the stage that they're in. And I'll explain the stage at a later point. So if we just go and look at those 5 places that I often see, you have pricing, packaging, qualification. So then also the handoffs. Anyone who wants to look at the presentation later, I can upload this somewhere so someone can take a deeper dive into this. And also the founder, and especially the founder with a calendar also twice. Oftentimes I see this, that the founder is the bottleneck and is blocking every decision. And it's not only the decision that they're often blocking, but also the explanation of the product. So they know the whole product in and out, but nobody else in the team can understand this or can communicate it as fully transparent as the founder could. So any conversation has to go through the founder oftentimes, which is not the best way to grow a company. So oftentimes when I speak to founders, we have this, I want to call this problem in a way, where the founder has an idea on how to fix their issues with not driving enough revenue. So for example, they might say, we need more leads, or my reps cannot close. It's a sales issue. The brand needs a refresh, or we need to enter a new market. Something I've helped with in my career, bringing companies from one market to another, for example, Germany over to the UK, or from Europe over to the US or Asia. Work with Asian markets a lot. But oftentimes what is actually true is, instead of we need more leads, the leads you have, they don't really convert as much as they should, or we let in the wrong buyers into the funnel. So our sales department cannot qualify the buyers because it's not the right buyers that you're letting in. Or it could be that the positioning is fine, but the price is wrong, either too high or too low. Oftentimes it is too low even. And then oftentimes what we can see is that there is still revenue in one market, and if there's untapped revenue that you're not getting towards. And as a founder, you think, well, we have this much revenue, so maybe we'll just open up a new market. There's more people, more companies to serve, and we'll just do the same thing there, while your actual market that you're currently operating in is not fully tapped out.
I have a quick
yes,
question.
Please.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes, please.
To present this question would be in a case study. So you said what is usually true, or an example. Let's go to the leads you convert at half of what they should. So for example, we have a company who wanted to come in and see you, Sebastian. They do coaching, online tutoring, let's say for high school students, right? So the funnel is Facebook ad. You see the ad, the parents see the ad, come into the webinar, or the ad leads them to a webinar, focus. They watch the webinar, really, really good webinar, then comes into, they book in a free coaching session. When they now come to the free coaching session, that's where the coach is. Now the ticket price point is at $4,995. So the leads are coming in very warm. Now this company have asked, well, Sebastian, how do we now get our conversion rate from, they're looking at their conversion rate from 20 to 30%, that's at the moment, to 50 to 60%. The reason they wanted at 50 to 60% is because, again, the leads are coming in very warm. Their students are struggling with school, really desperate parents. The coaches, the people who do the free coaching sessions, are commission only. So they do the training for the work, and then they come in and they're commission only because it's literally like you're coming with warm leads. So how do they get that quickly from, because we can see here, what is usually true is just like, we're having all these leads come through from the webinar, from the coaching session. Okay, how do we just convert more of them? And that's going to bring more revenue. How would you say they could look at this situation?
Absolutely. So that's exactly what one of those problems is with the commercial engine inside of a business. Oftentimes someone thinks that they should just drive more leads to the webinar, for example, which, yes, can improve the actual revenue in the end because you're driving more leads, but you still have the same conversion rate, but you're driving more people in. And I explained this in I think like 10 slides down. You have more people coming in, but the conversion rate is still the same. So you're still increasing revenue because you have more leads. But if you increase the conversion rate, that's where you can actually drive revenue because you don't have to spend more money for more leads. You can convert more. Now, in this case, for webinars, you can look at different things in whatever else is there in the process. So one, for example, if someone is coming to the booking page for the webinar, what if the booking page is not high converting? What if someone who arrives at the webinar expects something else from the webinar? So you don't even know if that person is the actual potential buyer that is going to buy this thing. If that person is warm enough, one would have to expect that everyone who clicks on the webinar button would be a 100% buyer, right? So from 100%, everyone you're not converting, there is some issue somewhere. So you can have the landing page that can have an issue. Maybe the webinar, maybe the landing page that drives you to the webinar, maybe that one is not optimized enough, either conversion-wise, also information-wise. Maybe the price point is not mentioned. So I haven't seen the page yet, but it could be that the price point isn't mentioned, for example. So one of the drop-offs could be that someone comes to the webinar and now they hear, for example, they expect live online tutoring, but then what they get is async online tutoring. So that's where a drop-off could be. Or so the information from the first landing page to the webinar, that's one information where they could be like, yeah, this is not exactly what I expected. Or the next thing could be you promise that their grades would go up. But then in the webinar, you say, well, we just help you with the grades, right? It's just those small things where maybe the script is not right from the person presenting it. Or maybe the price point isn't mentioned. And then the webinar comes up and everybody's like, well, the leads you're driving to the webinar, they come from a place of, I cannot really spend more than 150. And then they come in, and then the webinar says, well, and this is for the price of 500. And he says, I'm dropping off. So one of the reasons, or one of the ways to fix this is to actually talk to the people why they are dropping off. So that's this is actually one of the things in the case study that I will talk about. So that's one more thing. So now you have 3 things to look at, for example, in the conversion. Another thing could also be that when you want to check out, that maybe the checkout process is not quick enough or not easy enough. Or maybe you're reaching people, for example, in Europe, PayPal is big. Pretty much everyone, especially in Germany, pretty much everyone has a PayPal account. So it's very easy to integrate PayPal, but then you drive leads from a country where PayPal is not a thing, but your checkout option is PayPal. So how would they be able to check out? So those are the things where you can lose someone. Maybe in the webinar, you're not often enough talking about the actual offer. Maybe you're not trying to convert them to actually do the thing. And the thing is putting their credit card in or the PayPal. Or maybe you're talking to a country where it's harder to convert someone online. Germany, for example, it's much harder to get someone's credit card information to now start buying whatever it is that you're selling. Whereas in the States, it's super easy. Everybody's used to this. Everybody's like, I see a webinar. This is good. Credit card, not a thing in Germany. So you also have to look at your target audience. So those are just, I think, 5 or 6 different things to optimize in this. So hope this answered enough.
Yep. Thank you.
So one thing that I see often with founders is they look at this additive reflex. That's what I call this. They just want to do more of what they think should be done, because especially in marketing, this underneath. So just imagine already leaking underneath, and then the instinct is always more. Same with constraint. Anyway, what I see is someone told them, and this is often a marketing agency, someone told them, well, you need more traffic, you need more ad spend, we need to drive more ads to this, which yes, can be right. So I'm not saying that more traffic or more ads cannot fix driving more revenue. It's just oftentimes the issue is inside of what you do with that traffic, with that revenue. And same goes with your geography, with the rebrand. So those won't work if inside of your business, things don't work as well. What I've realized is a lot of times you can get more money out of one customer. So for example, the old one is you have 100 leads per month, you close them at 20%. This is similar to the webinar at a 10,000 euros, dollars, right? A large amount. You would make 200K. If you double the ad spend and the close stays the same, you have 200 more leads coming in, but you double the ad spend. So same close, you get 400,000 out of it, but the margin stays the same. You're just upping the ad spend. So the other way would be, and that's for you, it's this side, I think. So the other way would be you have the same 100 leads, you qualify them better, you close them at 28%. That's the webinar example from before. And then you reprice the deal if possible. You can also reprice the deal, and then you make nearly double from the same 100 leads. Almost the same money going in, zero extra spend, but you're increasing your revenue. That's what I realized. That's what I can help with. I mean, I can help with the traffic. I can help with the ad spend. That's exactly where I come from. Also with the rebranding, also with the new markets. But if what is going on inside of your business is not fixed, then there's no reason to go forward with the other stuff because it's still working, but you will run into these new constraints later on. So just to explain the framework, yeah, please.
Is it okay if I can ask you a quick question on that slide there?
Please. This one.
Okay, because this is very, very good. Okay, fix the capture first. So let's say, same 100 leads. Here's my question to you. Okay, so they see the ad, fantastic. They see the landing page for the webinar, great. The webinar's fantastic. Webinar's great, high converting webinar. They now book a coaching session. My question is on the qualify better. Reason being, if we have the ticket at $4,995, for example, or 10K, but let's say $4,995, we're not going to announce that because we don't want to scare people away too early. So how do you qualify better if, because out of, let's say, the 10 people who come from the webinar in a coaching session, maybe let's say 3 are good with the price, maybe 6 or 7, they say, oh, $4,995. Oh, come on, man, that's too much. Yeah. Or, and you got to look always. So how do we now qualify better? Because do we put the price on the website? Do we put the price on the landing page? But not many people are going to come if they see the price.
Yes and no. So with the price, I get that why some companies don't have the price up front. I get that they want to have someone coming in and then they can use their sales tactics. They can use a good script. They can really persuade someone in person. I often try to compare this with CVs when you apply for a job. You try to do the best CV and you send it out there, but then you're never hearing back from them. But the moment you have one of those interviews, then you're converting someone. Then you're there. Then you're good. Same for me. My CV looks good, but if I send it out to 100 people, they would still be like, well, what do I do with the CV now? The moment they jump on a call with me, they're always, this is interesting. So you can see that both tactics work. It's just if you can afford and if you want to work with a larger sales team, if you have closers and if you have setters, an actual sales process, then it doesn't matter as much to then name your price later on. But if you don't have this large sales team and if you just don't want to waste time on calls, because you can take that time and not waste it on calls with people who are just interested, then you can just show them, pre-qualify them on price, and they won't click on the price because they know exactly why they should or why they shouldn't click. Because if they know that they cannot afford, then why go on a call? So you only have people coming on the call, so you only have people coming to the call who understand the price, who understand what they're getting for the price, and then they come on the call and they're basically pre-closed because they already know what it is. And you're just talking to them. It's basically just, okay, so here are your ideas, here are your questions. What is keeping you from buying? Is the price. Let's go. So that's how this can work, depending on how you set up your sales process. Now, if you don't mention the price, everyone has to be qualified or pre-qualified much more. The ads have to be shown much more often. You have to explain your process of what someone would be getting without naming your price. You have to show everything before. You have to give them all of the information before they actually come to the call, because you don't want to spend the call or the time for the call with explaining what they're getting. The call is there to now you can pre-qualify them against all of their objections before. Because if you have an ad, if you have content on your page, for example, that could be the full landing page or more information. That could be a video on the landing page before they actually book, where you would talk about all of their objections before. And instead of, so I know you don't like this, you can already either different ways to do sales. Either you mention their objections straight away. It's like, so I know you think it might be expensive and you think you might not, I don't know, you might not learn the language. I think language school is the webinar, right? Or you're not doing this. You can name these, or you just mention the benefits straight away. You just tell them straight away. So by the way, with us, your grades will go up, or you will learn language much easier, that type of thing. So you pre-qualify them there on the landing page before they even jump over. So they already know what they might be getting, and they don't even have those questions anymore. So you basically have your VSL, your video before the actual webinar, and you don't have to convert them in the webinar anymore. So you have that thing first. Then you send them over to the webinar, and the webinar close and now this is usually what should happen. The webinar close should go up because they were pre-qualified on the video before the webinar. Does this make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Maybe so they see the ad to the landing page, and then the video that's there can pre-qualify them, potentially answering objections and all those sorts of things, then goes to the webinar, then into the coaching session, which leads to a sale. And in this process, you don't need to get the price or you can have the price.
It depends. Like both are fine. Personally, I like showing the price. It's just when you show the price, you might lose some people on that page where you show the price, and you don't have the conversation with them. So you need to be okay with that you might lose some people just from seeing the price, which might be nice, because then you don't have to spend time on the call. Or you don't show the price, you bring them over to the call, to the interaction, and then you need to be fine with people dropping off the moment you mention the high price. That is on you. That is on you to decide. That's more on a sales thing. So one is marketing to qualify, and sales, the best script. That is someone to how to convert them. Those are smaller tactics. What I mean with the conversion engine is going deep inside of the system. So that's why this is different even. So let me explain, because what you mentioned is one thing. You're selling one thing, and that's the big language school outcome. And I'll explain later why I think that one thing is not the right thing to do.
Okay, cool.
Should I continue?
Fantastic.
Okay. So framework wise, we have a demand gap. Can you generate the demand at all? That's the ads thing. That's more traffic, more ads. How are people coming to you? That's one thing. Yes, we can fix this from a marketing perspective. Then you have a capture gap. Do you actually convert the demand that you currently have? So instead of pouring more traffic into an offer that is not working or converting, we need to fix that capture. We need to bring the close rate up, or we need to do anything to close that gap on the capture. And then we also have the support gap. So that is where the structure can hold. So if you pour more leads in and you convert more leads, who is going to do the work for the ones that you're bringing in? You want to be at a point where you're basically oversubscribed, so that you have more people coming in than you can fulfill, and you only convert as many as you can actually fulfill. So you have 10 slots open, you have 50 people you have 50 people who want to book this, and then you stop at 10, and you just tell them, well, we stop at 10. And then you have to hire another person who then can capture the next 10 people, for example. But what you don't want to do is you have 10 slots open, but only 2 people are ready to convert. So that's the capture gap. What I've seen is we essentially have 5 dimensions that we can look at. So we have the strategic positioning, we have the offer architecture, we have revenue operations, we have team alignment and growth factors, where most businesses have at least one of these issues, and if not even 5 of them. To go deep into these, strategic positioning, for example, we can have 5 to 10 different questions or things a founder can say. Founders often, for example, he would say, we win the deal, and then we discount to close it, which is a very weird thing to do. So they oftentimes describe the product works, and the best customer can also describe this, but for them it's a little bit different. And then the first thing you do is you discount this just to win the customer over, which is weird. So you can discount, which is not, it's not discount itself. It's not a bad thing, but there should be an actual reason to discount, not because someone comes in and just ask for a discount. That's not how this should work. If you have, I don't know, a Halloween discount or Christmas discount, those are things that can work. Or you give them an extra on top of it and then you discount this. So for example, you give them two separate products, and the moment they buy both of them together, they get a discount. So that can work. Otherwise, you're just cannibalizing what you're doing. And also, the positioning is how a customer sees you in the market. And then also, what happens if you would double the price tomorrow? Would that still work? Would your customers still stay with you? Hopefully they would. And that's exactly where we should drive you, where you should drive your product and also your positioning. And offer architecture is one thing. And that's it, what I mentioned before with the webinar and the language school. Oftentimes, companies have either one cheap offer or one expensive offer. The expensive is often more custom made, but there's nothing in between. I believe that usually the middle is where everything dies. So either you go really cheap and you just get this to as many people out there as possible, but then it's just cheap product and you can just send it out. Or you have a really expensive product and then you pay, you sell that one. But most companies forget that there should also still be a middle offer that you can still offer on top of it. And that's what would make sense, to offer a ladder to accelerate someone through that ladder to come to that next stage. So for example, for the webinar option, what is it that a customer, either they do just one language school for nearly $5,000, that's what you mentioned before, they do only this, but what else can they do? Is there anything else that you can route them towards, either after the course for 5,000 is done, or maybe 5,000 is a little bit too much, what do I do now? So now they drop off, but you don't have any way to win them back, to route them to something cheaper. So if 5,000 is too much, why not come up with a middle product for 500, for example, or 1,000, right? You would need to find the best product for this that you can sell to them. So instead of a language school, which is online tutoring and human and high touch, why not come up with, could be an app, could be a dictionary, for example, would be a low product, a cheap offer. But why not come up with an app, or why not have a partnership offer together with Duolingo, for example, that kind of thing. So you still find something to route those people that you're losing, to route them to the middle product, or people come to the middle product and then they see their learning process stops with the middle product. It stops there, and then they're like, by the way, I know that these guys are offering something more expensive. I wasn't ready back then, but now I'm ready. So you can win those guys back who weren't ready before. So if you show them let's say $500 for the middle product and 5,000 for the expensive product, you might lose a lot of people for the expensive product in the beginning. That's what we mentioned maybe like 10 minutes ago, right? You might lose some because you've shown the expensive one, but they might be like, well, but I still trust these guys enough to come to the landing page. I'm not ready to spend 5,000, but I'm ready to spend 500 now. So they can do this now. And then eventually when this middle offer, when this stops, they can still convert to do the higher one. So you will get some people back. So maybe your conversion rate inside of the webinar stays the same. So it still stays 20%. But because you have a middle offer, you win an extra 8% because these guys are now coming back. This is not tomorrow, but maybe in 5 months out, because now you have another thing. Same goes for those 5,000 offer. Once that is done, what else do they do with this? Is there anything else that you can capture value from them after this course is done? So that's the offer architecture. This is basically the webinar thing, the revenue operations, where you have to look at who's qualified, who's disqualified, who's clogging your sales process, for example, if they are unqualified. I just spoke to a founder the other day where they are talking to institutional buyers often. So they want to work with municipalities, city councils, that kind of thing. But the problem is these guys are often either they don't have enough money, or their processes are just so long, or they're not visionary enough for their product, but they're still trying to talk to these guys because they think that could potentially be a buyer, but they're not a buyer. It's just someone who listens to what you have to say, but they're not converting because you already know they're not converting because you have the data that these guys are not converting. So why go to another municipality, to another city council to try to win these guys over while your product also works for someone else. So those are the things to look at. Then team alignment. This is oftentimes your team doesn't know how to drive revenue. I've been speaking to or also helping a hair salon, for example. None of their guys, none of the hairdressers, none of the barbers, none of them really thought about how to drive more revenue. So what they were doing is they were just doing the haircuts and the beard trims, and that was it. So there was no extra revenue to capture. So one of the case studies, which is not in the deck, but one of the case studies is, for example, what we did then was we looked at how else they could make money. So they essentially had this one shelf with some products and from some company. So what we did was, instead of just be like, usually you would get the beard trims and say, hey, by the way, we have these products. You would actually physically take those products and present the products and be like, so, hey, by the way, so we have this new beard oil and it's super, all of these things. So now people were now converting. It's not that everybody is buying it, but you will have more people buying it. Now, your margin is relatively thin because you're buying someone else's product. So what we then did was we trained the barbers to do this motion of selling these extra products. And then what we did was we sourced a new product or new product line for this barbershop where they have their own products now that they can sell. So now the margin even went up. It was obviously a little bit more extra work to get the extra product line coming in, but now they have their own brand. So margin goes up. So now you have more people. So it's just the beard trim is one thing. We also told them to do some extra work. So instead of just beard trim, they get a little bit like an extra massage or maybe like a hot towel. So those things that you would do, which drives more people coming back. So they have a great experience. Then the barbers were now in this mind state of not just being a barber, but also being able to sell because they would get a commission from selling these products. And we also had the third thing, we had their own product line. So the margins went up as well for the product lines that were now sold more than before to more people because people were coming back. All right. So those are the things that you need to do inside of your company as well. It doesn't mean that everyone in your company has to know every little detail that is going on, but everyone has to think about how they can drive revenue up. And there's one of my favorite examples is from maybe like 30 years ago. It's one of the big car manufacturers in Germany, where they had this incentive where if you are working inside of this company and you found an improvement, and however much money this improvement saves the company, you would get a certain percentage of it. And there was this one guy who was on the assembly line, and he was constantly reaching to the left and then doing his task. And he realized left doesn't really work. Like I have to do this to the right. I have to move this here. And then this is much easier and much quicker. So what they did was they moved this thing to the right. They realized now they're saving 5 or 10 seconds per car or per this one moment. And when they started doing this, they realized, well, it's 10 seconds per car, but that also means we have 1,000 cars coming in per day. That adds up. And now this guy is making hundreds of thousands just from the commission alone from coming up with this thing. So everyone in your company, everyone who's listening, they should be able to bring you ideas. They need to understand what it is you're doing, and you need to be open to hearing this. And oftentimes founder-led companies or founder-carried companies, they are oftentimes in this mind state of just doing everything themselves and not listening because it's their own baby, which I understand to a certain point, but then revenue stays flat because nobody is able to bring ideas over to you, because you as the founder and the leader are not open. So that's one more thing. And the last one is growth factors. And that's the problem where someone says we need to enter a new market. That could be geographically, or that could be you have a sauce, for example, or let's go back to the barber. You have the haircuts and the beard trim. The extra market could theoretically be now you do women's haircuts as well. So yes, it's a market that you can also offer, but why not look at the customers that are in your chair already? Because you sell more. So those are the growth vectors, and we have those below all of this. We have the founder, and the founder needs to be okay with raising price, for example. Needs to know when to say no, for example. Has to understand how many people are coming in. How are we treating everyone? Does everybody have to ask permission from you as the founder first, because before they can do anything? Or how long does it take to make a decision? All of these things. That's very important. So when I diagnose something with a founder, I often see that they are not ready to take any action or any outside tips, so to speak. So even if I give them a diagnostic, they're not ready to hear it. So if you're a founder and you want to grow and you're the bottleneck just because you're not ready to grow, that's a big issue. And that's why we have these 5 stages in businesses. And I always want to help everyone to get from stage 0, obviously unproven, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some companies or some consultants, like the Homoses, for example, they go by revenue bands. And I go just by the stages of founder-led and founder-carried. Founder-carried is you do everything yourself. Everything. Founder-led is at least you're open to having a team and you're still leading the team, but you're still the founder. Replicable is the next step, and instrumented. I tried to go a little bit faster to even get to the case studies. And then multipliable. This is obviously Microsoft, SAP, Apple, Netflix. Those are the big ones where everything just runs, and you as a founder, you can just be hands off and everybody knows what to do, and it's a well-oiled machine. Not saying either Apple and Netflix can have their issues, but usually they are machines and they're working.
I have one question. So let's go back. So if it's a founder-led company, I'm the founder, I've got a team, customer service team, ops team. If I now bring the sales, help to kind of take my role as the founder a little bit away, and I've hired this sales manager. And let's say now our sales, we've been doing sales at our $5,000 high ticket range. But then let's say our sales manager, or no, let's just say the sales are maybe going down a little bit, maybe going down. What do I do as a founder if I want to continue to grow, but not always have to come back in to save the day or to thing, but I also have to take action because if the sales are maybe dropping a little bit, I'm also anxious. So what does a founder do where it's like you're big, like, you've got a team? What are your thoughts on that?
So the one of the main things is that many founders don't have a system. So nothing is installed. They just hand everything over and just be like, well, you do the sales. I've done the same mistake. I hired a sales manager. We gave everything over and then nothing got delivered. But I trusted because, well, I hired you, figure this out. But the problem is, and that was on me because I was the founder, because it's my baby. It's my whole, it's my company. It's my venture. It's my whatever it is, either 2 founders or 1 founder. It is your thing. So everything that happens eventually falls back to you. So if sales are stalling, then it could be that, yes, sales manager could be bad. It's something you can look at. But also, what if the leads are not qualified enough before they land at the sales manager? So the sales manager might not be able to convert the right people. What if the sales manager has to be the finder of the leads? For example, if they do a cold outreach, they have to be the finder. They also have to be the setter. They also have to be the closer. So in a small company, oftentimes this falls on one sales manager. But the founder has to keep on asking where those problems are. So there needs to be constant back and forth with the salesperson. If the salesperson eventually lands at the point where that if you're driving online marketing and driving things over and the sales manager just has to work with this, that's one thing. But if they have to do outreach themselves, then they also have to be able to tell you where the problem lies. And you as a founder need to figure out if either what they're telling you is true, because you can also have a false read about yourself, but also about the other person. I did the mistake myself, so I know how this feels. So what you need to do if you drive with the online webinar, for example, if you drive people over, you have to check if the script is not converting. For example, we have Read AI, we have Otter, we have all of these different meeting recording tools. So take all of the scripts, everything from these, take 20, 30, 50 of those and analyze them against what you think could be wrong. It could very well be that the sales manager is doing an amazing job in the way that person or they present the script, but what if the script is wrong? And that is on you as the founder to figure out, because you cannot put that person who's already having the problem into the position to fix that problem themselves if they're not able to, because you can tell them, so fix this, and what are the options? Work with me, because you are the salesperson, you are the person who I hired for this, but it ultimately lands with you. So you need to be able to understand where it is, and if you are not able to find this, then hire someone on the outside, or at least talk to someone, get outside help. That's exactly why I built the commercial engine, to help you guys build this machine of a business that it runs. And oftentimes founders they're not open enough to get someone to take the outside look, and then also to take that outside look that converts into advice, to take that advice as well. So you need to be open, because everyone out there has some experience. And if you find someone who has the same experience of what you want to fix, then talk to that person. because maybe there is some other online language school somewhere else where you can talk to, or find someone who's in a similar thing. So for example, you do online language and you don't want to, maybe not with a competitor, but maybe you find someone who is online grade school type of thing, or online athletic coaching. Maybe you can talk to an athletic coach, for example, like those online gym coaches, right? Maybe talk to these people. How are you converting, and what is your script? What does your script look like? How do you do this? Because I'm running into this issue constantly. My sales manager is not able to fix this. How can I do this? So you don't even have to book someone like me, for example, or another consultant. You can also talk to other people that are adjacent to what you're doing and to figure out what you're doing yourself. What I'm, for example, doing is, because I'm talking to so many founders, I try to take every advice, every finding from all of these different industries to then accumulate all of this into one thing. That's why the commercial engine now exists, to bring all of this knowledge into one system and framework that people can work along with. And then you can also take that knowledge that someone else, let's say a gym coach or a yoga studio or the enterprise software that I'm presenting later on, you can take that knowledge from there and transform this into your own business. Because essentially every business is in a way, every business is the same. You just have different smaller tactics and different services or products inside of it. But overall, you're just dealing with human psychology. And that's what you need to figure out. Did this answer enough?
Yes, it did.
Awesome. And I mentioned default stage read before. What I see happens with a lot of people is, or a lot of founders is, they say we are a 2 million euro, $2 million, right? Coming from Europe, that's why I always use the euro. But we are a 2 million euro business, and we are at stage, isn't this? But in actuality, they are not, because they are still founder led. And they think we are, well, $2 million business or 2 million euro business. We are a big company and all of these things, right? But oftentimes you look into the business and then the founder is still involved with with everything essentially. So the business itself is not really a 2 million euro business. It's actually more like a 500,000 euro business, because if all goes through that person, and that person wants to go on holiday, then nothing gets done because the person is not there. So what you can see is you can have businesses that make less money be at a higher stage. So you can have a business that has 600,000 euro annual revenue be instrumented, because everything just works and the founder just looks at it, sees the whole flow, the conversion, loss, retention, everything works. But then you can have a nearly 2 million euro business and they're still at replicable. Because yes, something like things work, but the founder always has to touch this in a way. Me, for example, I touch business right now because I love helping. I want to be there. That part is still, that part is not scalable. So I'm still between 1 and 2 myself, but only because I want it that way at the moment. But if you want a number 4, but you're still at number 2, you cannot use the tactics from number 3 to 4. You have to understand that you need to go from 2 to 3. Does this make sense?
Yep, a lot of sense.
Okay, good. So what you need to do, and this is also what I'm doing, when you ask how the sales team is performing, then you get somewhat of an idea. But you need to ask for facts. And it's the same thing, either me from an outside look, or you as the founder have to ask yourself a fact on what is happening. So for example, in this case, how is the sales team performing? That can just be a number, or is a feeling. Well, good. The actual fact would be, how many disqualification criteria do we have? In this case, for example, for the webinar before, disqualification is someone is not willing to pay 5,000 euros or dollars for this course, then it's a disqualification. Do you have this as a criteria before? Do people know that they should not even talk to someone like this, because they're not a customer? So why talk to that person if you're not converting that person anyway? So that's what you need to figure out, what is happening inside of your business, either you with the webinar example, or anyone out there listening. And the last part on the bottom, I think somewhere over here for you, yeah. Founders who buy a diagnostic either buy with me or doing it themselves, because I have a question at the end for you guys. You don't lie on purpose. They don't lie to me on purpose. You don't lie to yourself on purpose, but you misinterpret a lot of things. And that's why you need to ask for specific facts. And these facts are undeniable. Most of the time, you're only going for feelings, or you misrepresent something. You think things are going quite okay, but oftentimes things are, you have this bell curve for you, like a bell curve here. So your mindset goes up and maybe sales go up, and then eventually you're here, and then mindset and sales go up. Like usually mindset goes up a little bit earlier, so how we have to hire more salespeople, for example, and I really want to grow. So that's the sales thing. Then the sales comes up. That's the mindset thing. Then the sales go up. Then also the delivery, you have more delivery to do now. But eventually your mindset will drop. And the mindset thing is also how you misinterpret things. Done the same thing. I've been there. I know it. You might be at a point, not all of you out there, but you might be at a point where you're misinterpreting whatever's going on in your business, but your sales are, what's the word for this? So your mindset goes down, but your sales are still up here. And so before your sales fall, you misinterpret the stage because you think, well, things are going well, but they're not going well enough anymore. And then eventually your revenue goes down as well, but only because your sales dropped off first. But you're misreading the stages. So you think, well, things are going quite well because delivery is good. Customers are happy, but you're not making new sales. So those are things to look at the specific facts, and then only arrive at your conclusions with the actual facts. So to give you a little bit more proof, I have two businesses that we can look at with different problems, so to speak. What we do is we look at what the business is, we look at the problem that they thought they had, we look at what I fixed when I came in, and then we look at the result. So the business, field service software for tradies, small trade businesses in the US, signed in NDAs, and I can't really name the company, but what they had was this software where you would come to the software as a trade company. Could be cleaners, could be technicians, but you would only have one seat per company. So you would come in, you would pay your amount to use the software, and that was it. And these guys could just, it was scheduling with the and time sheets type of thing. So what he did was all of his clients could come in, have one account, pay for the account, and just add as many, let's say, technicians, as many roofers, as many trade guys in there as well. Right? Just add them up. And then he had no sales team, no one, but he was stuck at 800,000 AR. Should have used dollars, but makes more sense to keep everything in euro, right? And he said, well, Sebastian, I have this problem. Stuck at this. I want to do more ads. Can you help me bring in more revenue? And I think we need to do more ads. So what we did was we looked at this whole thing. So he thought, right? So with more ads, he would have more budgets, more signups, more volume at the top. So maybe that's what would be able to help him. And with more people coming in, maybe he would get a 25% increase in ARR. So that was his goal. Just get a 25% extra, so 1.2 million. That's where he wanted to land. And the product itself was good. Customers were happy. They were staying because obviously it was quite cheap. And also they only had to pay once for everyone they onboarded. So what we figured out was we have to talk to the people. So because he, as an IT guy, he just programmed this thing. He never spoke to anyone. He didn't really know who was customer on his platform. So what we saw was that his flat fee was just there for years, and not just one, like I think 3 years or so, 4 years, where everything just stayed flat. Nothing really changed, because you just set the flat fee in the beginning, and that was just it. Customers could add more technicians, more tradies, more cleaners, more roofers, more technicians. All of these could just come in, and customers were just handling this, and everything was really generic on just tradies. So what we did was he talked to the customers, which I told him to do. Send out emails, talking to them, and then also having phone calls with them to really figure out what it is that they're doing, what it is that they need from the platform, how they're using it, and how happy they are, all of this. So that's what he needed to figure out in actual video calls, because he was just an IT guy before, but it was his baby, so he had to do it himself. And then we looked at the value that this whole thing was giving. He spoke to the customers, and he figured out how happy they were with using this. And I also made him ask if they would still keep on using it if we had to increase the price. And yes, we had some customers drop off because we increased the price, but also what we did on top, we also included a per technician seat. So instead of adding as many technicians that you wanted, we now had a per technician seat. So you had with your with your basic subscription, you had a free amount of technicians that you can use, or free amount of cleaners or tradies, right? I think that's the word. A fixed amount of people coming in that you can use this for. But the moment you increased your team, you would have to pay per new person coming in. So that added some extra revenue. That's what I meant in the beginning. You have to see how much more money can you take out of your customer that they are willing to pay. So it needs to make sense, right? So instead of just increase by 500%, It has to make sense, and it needs to be in a way that they understand why this is happening. So that's why he had the calls with his guys, with his customers. And then we sharpened the position as well later on. So instead of working with all cleaners and with all roofers, they could still use the platform because it's still valuable for them. But the positioning itself was mainly towards companies that have actual technicians. So instead of just increasing to only 1.2 million, what was his goal, a 25% increase, what we now did was more than double the AR, 2.5% up. We got the net revenue retention up, which was at 85% before. And it was actually dropping. So people were dropping off already, which you didn't really see. So if your churn is too high and you stay below 100% in net revenue retention, then eventually your company will die because people are going to leave more and more, and eventually it goes down to zero. So what we now did was we had net revenue retention at 118%. So based on shrinking all of this, we added 1.2 million extra. So instead of just a landing there, we added that on top. With the new positioning, we had 230,000 increase. We had with the pricing increase, we had more, and also with the expansion for the seats. And then eventually he was able to sell this at a five times multiple, which was amazing for him, which I love this for him. So we increased to over 2 million, or I think we went at 2 million annual revenue in the end, and he sold it for 10, which was amazing to see. That's one of the case studies. And then another one. It's an enterprise software where they had around 1.8 million revenue, and it was completely flat. He had a sales team. They were selling into these larger organizations with a custom made tool. Not custom made, right? Custom made service software. Like it was a software that they built for the enterprises. So what we saw was that the revenue stopped growing, and the founder came in and was like, well, it has to be a problem with my sales team. These guys might be bad, right? So that's the team alignment part also that I mentioned before. So what he thought was he hired the wrong people, and he has to hire other guys to not fill this issue or fix this issue. And he thought it was a people problem. And yes, it could be. It could be a people problem. It could be that your people might have to be retrained. It could also be that two people are great and one person's slacking off, either has to be retrained or replaced with someone else, or that they might have to push harder. But what we found was the reps were in these calls, but the founder was not there. So he didn't really know what was going on. He didn't read the scripts. He didn't see any videos afterwards. He didn't know what was going on. He was just looking at the numbers. He was like, well, these guys are not closing enough, and they should be, because my tool or our tool that we have, or software, that should close more people or more enterprises. But what we then realized when we looked into this is he didn't really have a disqualification criteria. There was nothing. It was just, well, sell this thing, and then we see how many people come back, and then that's it. Then we just deliver. But he has no disqualification. So in the beginning, he was talking to the wrong buyers. Same as I mentioned with these other guys that I talked to a couple of days ago, where they were trying to sell into institutions. These guys were different, but you have to look at the person, or actually at the potential buyer that you're letting in. One thing is either the whole company is disqualified because they're not the right target audience. That's one thing. Or what if, and this is also very important for everyone to understand, is you have the financial buyer and you also have the emotional buyer inside of a company. One is the emotional buyer. The emotional buyer or the technical buyer. You have different people inside of a company. And someone is sitting there, the technical guy could be, I need this tool because the tools that I'm using right now, they're not working. I need something new. And it's not working. Then you have the emotional person in there who has this feeling about how the company is doing and how his team is doing. He's like, well, my technicians are not really happy with what they're doing. We might lose some time here. That's one person. But you also have the financial buyer, because the financial buyer is the person who needs to green light what you're buying. So what we did was we looked at this whole thing. We saw that the cycle got too long because we were talking to the wrong people. The whole sales intake was clogged. So you were talking to the wrong people. You were spending too much time. Your pipeline was still filled up with people that were ready to buy, but you're not talking to them because your time was spent, or the three sales guys, three sales reps, they were talking to the wrong people because there was no disqualification. It's like selling English training or English foreign language training to a native English speaker. Doesn't really make sense, right? So same goes for every other business with this enterprise software as well. And what we did was we gave them a disqualification permission. So they could look at companies, and also in calls, they could listen to what the other person on the other end was about to say or was saying about their company, and they would be able to cut those sales calls short. So they could actually hang up. The sales reps were now able to say, well, I don't think we are the right fit for each other. So first of all, better qualification coming in, but also they were now able to disqualify someone on a call. Instead of spending 30 minutes or an hour, maybe even providing a use case, they could now be like, well, this is not the right fit. We'll work with someone else. Thank you. So now they had this permission, gave them also a better feeling about themselves, because now they had this confidence of how to handle certain situations instead of being stuck in a call where they knew, I'm not closing that person anyway, but I have to stay here, right? So now they are in a call, and now they're happy to do the calls. And they were oftentimes in this stage where they would then end the sales call, and the other person like, well, I might be thinking about it. Let's talk about this maybe in like 3 months, which then extended the sales cycle because the rep was still going back to these people and was still asking, so, hey, by the way, are you ready today? You said 3 months from now. Like, well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. So now what we did was we disqualified these people. They were gone. They would still get emails sent, but those were automated and not a personal touch anymore, because these guys were lost. They were not high intent. It's the same in dating. You want to date someone who has high intent of talking to you and spending time with you, and not someone who's barely interested. Same thing in sales. And then the last part, what we did was we also gave them the option. We worked on this together, where we now have a self-serve product. So in the beginning, what I mentioned is they had this large software thing that it had to be attuned to what the customer was doing, and it has to be high touch before you actually work with the company, before all of this works. So what we now did was we came up with a self-serve product, smaller one, much cheaper, rather generic, but still works in a way. It's like as an explanation for like real word for normal people, so to speak, is either you do a basketball athletic training, for example, and jump higher, blah, 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 this, or you give them an app on how to stay fit, right? So those are the things that you can do in your own business as well. Look at the smaller thing. That's what I mentioned before with the webinar as well. Look at the smaller thing that you can give someone, and then still qualify the right people for the higher product. In the end, what we did was sales cycle was nearly cut in half, which was amazing for them. Rep capacity went up. So for the 3 sales guys, instead of replacing them, yes, we did a little bit of training, but instead of that, they didn't have to hire new people, and now they had more time to work on the actual deals. So just in the first quarter, we got them 300,000 more euros, which was significantly more. Sales rep capped. So the team, there was no disruption. Nobody had to feel like, maybe I will be let go. All of this was done or gone from them mentally, so to speak. And you always have to ask yourself if those people, and if you are able as a founder to understand that your people that you hired are actually good. Yes, everyone needs more training always. We can all improve. But if someone is already good, then maybe there's something else that is going on, and that is not on the people that you're working with in the sales department. So you had 2 founders. One of them, the first case study was he wanted to spend more, wanted to get more ads, more people coming in. So we fixed something else. And founder B wanted to blame his people, but they were looking at the wrong thing. And that's the main thing that I want everyone to sit with. Look at what you might be misinterpreting in where, that's why I call this where the money is dying. You have to look at the leak. Where could this actually be? And how could I make more money out of my business, so to speak, instead of looking at the easiest solution, the easiest fix. Because that is not, oftentimes, yes, more leads, by all means. Get more leads coming in if you can close them, all good, right? It's just oftentimes you can do more with the same leads that you have, or disqualify some of the leads that are coming in before they are actually clogging your pipeline. Those are just two of different examples. We also talked about the webinar. Just recently, I helped the barber studio, right? Also helped the yoga studio, where they were now filling more seats, more mats, basically. The revenue went up as well just by looking at the commercial engine. And so instead of doing more discounts, so hey, by the way, on Fridays or on Mondays, it's cheaper to do the yoga with me, or having these pop-up stands outside of the door. Sure, she still had those, but we cut down on discounts, and now we came up with new options. We also have an online course that people could also work with. She's also sourcing on mats, so she now sells the mats as well on top of this. So she's making more revenue from the same people that are there, and people are coming back as well. So those are the things I want you to look at. And this is for everyone listening to this, or you should do something like a 60-second test. There are two numbers I want you to write down. One is the revenue over the last 12 months, and just sit with the number and see what can be done about this. But then number two is also how many decisions are you taking this week or per week that only you can take and nobody else can take, and that those which are blocking any way forward. So those are oftentimes the two most important things. Everything else I explained are things to look at as well. But if you as a founder are not able to actually make that, make the decision yourself to let go and delegate and let others take over as well, then oftentimes you are still in this founder carried stage. And that's really important to understand where you want to go, because when you look at the stages from before, you can, but you don't have to go to the next stage. For some founders, they are extremely happy with just being one freelancer and just doing one thing themselves and just trying to see how can I improve the revenue that I have, which also improves the margin and the take home by just being alone, just one freelancer. Nobody has to grow a big business. Nobody has to become the next Apple or Tesla or hire 20 people. You can. And for that, you need to be able to understand, am I that type of person who wants to go that far? But if I want to go that far, I have to take certain decisions, and I have to let go, and I have to take this over. Otherwise, you can't stay a freelancer. All good, no problem. Be an online, like with the webinar, be an online language coach just by yourself, and then try to figure out how you can make more money just by yourself from doing this. So that's the main thing. So honestly, look at this yourself. Ask for facts about your business, either freelancer or larger business, 5 people, 10, 20, even 100 people. You can still be in the same stage as a founder carried, even if you have 100 people, if everything flows through you. I've worked with one large company. They had 1,000 people, but most of the decisions went through one person. And you really, really have to be honest with which gaps do you need to fill? Which stage are you in? And either fix the whole thing yourself, which is important to have a running business. Or obviously you can work with me. Any other consultant theoretically might work as well. But if the other consultant only tells you drive more ads, think about this in a way that you have to be very honest with yourself. If just driving more leads through ads by just spending more, if that actually drives revenue, if that actually drives your margin up, because what you want to do is revenue up and margin up as well. So that instead of doing this, you also want to do this. So your margin goes up. That's really important. All right. I think that should be it.
Yeah, I think that was wonderful. Do you want to finish with this last slide here?
Well, that's basically it, right? So most founders, they just look at the revenue. They just don't know where they are in their stage. And most founders just need to be able to step away and build businesses that they can have. Like if you actually want to build that business that has more team or a bigger team in there, you need to be able to delegate. And if you are a freelancer, you still need to be able to understand where your business is leaking revenue and drive that forward. So you need to have that honest conversation with yourself as a founder.
Mm-hmm. No worries. Well,
that's basically it.
Fantastic. I think this was a wonderful webinar. We've got your website here. I'm even just looking at it myself and it looks pretty impressive. So we'll have people to get in touch with you. I have a potential company in mind and I can talk to you after this. So thank you so much. I think that was wonderful.
Thank you so much for the time. I also have I've just written a couple of ebooks about this whole thing. So all of the stages are explained as well. Website is in works to reflect that as well in the next coming days. So whoever checks the website out now, like today, they will have a new one coming in soon. There's also deck metric for founders who are looking for investment to get their pitch deck tested or checked before they actually talk to investors and see that nothing is sticking, because I've done that as well with a lot of founders, with a lot of startups. And that also will show you how I see a commercial engine running, because on my pitch deck website, deck metric, what you will see is instead of just one scoring, one price for just the scoring, you can also have instead of just a monthly small, you also have a yearly, and you can do yearly recurring for a full cycle. Whereas, for example, this is a commercial engine where your discount is the full yearly costs 299. The monthly costs 49 euros per month, which means if you multiply $49 by 12, this is much more than 299. So there's this huge discount, but only if someone takes if someone takes the full yearly, which is oftentimes a full founding round. But if you want to take more, if you want to do more, you can also do a full async review with me, where I sit down, I do this asynchronously. I'll do a video, send it over, which is high touch, but still we don't have to spend time one-on-one. Or you can pay much more. You get the full yearly premium version. You get all of the decks that I also have, because I also have decks where a founder toolkit, a already built example for pitch decks, which are cheaper. And then you can go through the ladder of these kits, and then eventually you can go to the high touch strategy session with me, while you would also get the yearly and the founder kits. So that's just to explain how such a ladder can look like. Instead of, I mean, obviously it's a little bit of a promotion for my for that website, but also this is for you to understand how to build a product line around what you're actually doing already. Instead of building multiple offers, different things, you take one offer and dissect it into different things that someone else can also use.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for having me. Any questions, please let me know afterwards.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Sebastian.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, what's wrong? Bro, I'm stressed out. I'm running my business. I've got to serve my customers, but I need more customers coming in. I can't keep relying on word of mouth. Why don't you just use ETS Rabasha Media? Who? Well, with AI now, what they do is they go in, get your perfect clients, bring them in front of you. So all I got to do is run my business and he brings me opportunities. Think about it. You speak to 3,000 of your ideal customers, convert 1% of that 3,000. That's 30 people. 30 people in a room with you. Can you convert that? Of course I'll close them. I'm good at what I do. I just don't have time to be going and looking for my perfect client. Focus on what you love doing and let them bring you customers. When you win, they win, commission, ching. Sujira Rabasha, huh? Yeah, Sujira Rabasha. Go and Google them, man. Come on, take it to the bank.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.